Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another edition of, this could be a retro grouch thing, but I'm going to keep it not retro grouch. In some of the videos, some folks have been making comments about what frame pump do I use. And so this is January the 26th, I believe. So about a month ago, during the holiday season, I was trying to find a frame pump as a gift for Jess. And I hadn't looked for a frame pump in years because, most customers aren't asking for them. They want their little CO2 or maybe a little mini pump. And I realized I can't find frame pumps anywhere. And, unfortunately, this is one of those things where the carbon age has precluded manufacturers from making these frame pumps anymore because they just don't fit on carbon frames. So they're not going to fit flush. They're not going to sit right. They're not going to look right. They're probably going to fall off unless you have a Velcro strap. But even then, the carbon frames have so many odd shapes. There's just no way a pump manufacturer can create a pump that will fit all of that stuff. So it got me thinking, though, if you use a mini pump, get a really high quality one. I use a Lazine mini pump on my carbon bikes because I can't put a pump underneath the top tube. But on my steel bikes, and especially if I take my steel bikes out for, a long ride in the middle of sometimes nowhere here, the California deserts or our mountains, they're all 30, 40 miles straight from the shop. So, it's accessible by bike and it's a good century ride. But I wanted to talk about a couple of pumps that maybe you could still find, maybe you could still ask, maybe on eBay. I haven't checked, but maybe there's some used pumps out there. And some of them, they have a long life because you just don't use them that often. And so, I guess it brings up the other point. Why a frame pump instead of CO2? Well, CO2 is very limited. You've got how many cartridges you're going to take with you? How many flats do you think you may have? There's been days where we're 3-4 flats in a day in our group. It can happen. It can happen to one rider, 3 flats in a day. So how many CO2s do you take? How many spare maybe patches or whatever. But then after a certain point, you're out of CO2s. And there's that one guy or gal who has a mini pump and they save the day for that rider. So let's look at a couple of pumps that you may find. This one was a Park Tool pump. And one of the things I liked about this Park Tool is it had these little slots in here. So it was a one size fits all. And if you're not aware, you need to have the right size pump for your top tube length. And so the pump would have these little notches. And once you'd lock it into place, then you'd put it into your frame. So this was really cool. It wasn't a very high quality pump, but it did the job. Had a decent chuck and it had a decent locking lever. And it had a really good handle as well. So let me show you how this worked. It just was a nice handle for pumping. So that was good. And as I mentioned, it had that adjustable nature. I don't know if you'll find too many of these. It's been a few years for that one. This is the one I use. And I still happen to have a brand new one here. And this was the measurement that you'd have to take, and then you would say, okay, I have this length top tube, and so I need to get this size pump. Now I bought quite a few of these when they were on closeout because these are great pumps. I personally use one, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the Topeak brand no longer makes this pump. It's unfortunate. It's a very good pump, by the way. The only thing I don't like is this little plug here. After a while, it just doesn't fit in there anymore. It just, I don't know what the point of that or why that design failed. But it's a good pump and it looks nice, right? Doesn't have a crazy graphics or anything, just gray. It's very subdued and a polished look to it. Well, it's not polished, but it's a brighter look than a dull aluminum. And then everyone should know this brand if you've been around a while. Let me put that in the right direction. So that's a Zefel pump, and you know, it's a French pump, and you can probably still find these. I believe the Rivendell site still carries these. My Zefel distributor doesn't have this pump anymore, so I wonder how that Rivendell company has them on their site. And if you don't know Rivendell, it's a bike manufacturer that still makes steel bikes, lugged, everything that you want in an old format, but new, manufactured new. These pumps are great. They last forever. Very simple design to them. And you also have, so the only reason I'm not using this pump anymore is it fell off my bike and this tab here broke off. So, you know, that's kind of annoying. But the pump still works, and I've had it a long time. So now we're going to go back out to my showroom, and we're going to look at my personal bike. And, you know, this is my Ritchie. I rode it today. I ride it often. And see, this pump just fits perfectly underneath the top tube. Nice and small form and function. I mean, I love this pump. It works very, very well. But the challenge is, you know, so here's how it connects to the frame there, and then here, spring loaded, right? But if you look at carbon frames with all of these kinds of notches here, right? You know, look at this top tube. You know, where is that going to mount? Obviously, no longer do bikes have pump pegs, but you know, that's a completely different topic. But look at, you just can't mount a frame pump here. So, you know, you end up using a mini pump because you really should have a backup to all your fancy stuff, your CO2s and whatever. Please always have a backup so you're not stranded out there when you've had too many flats, or one of your riding mates have had too many flats and you've had to give up your stuff to help your riding mate get down the road, and then all of a sudden everybody's out of air. And you know, the Uber is just not a fun thing, in my opinion. Not to mention you have to call for an extra large vehicle to get your bike or bikes if there's a couple of you out there in the middle of nowhere. All right, well, that's all for today. I just wanted to cover briefly the topic of frame pumps and why they are going away or have gone away. There's very few options available. And last but not least, the Silca, I believe it's called Imperio, you know, but that's nearly a $200 pump. It's $175 or something like that. I've had Silca pumps for many years. I've had Silca floor pumps, all that. All the parts are replaceable. So, you know, it's a family heirloom that you pass down through generations because it is a pump that can't be rebuilt, and you could use it for many, many years and multiple generations. But do you want to spend $175 on a pump, right? So at some point, I'll have another one, and you know, that's kind of like the top of the line frame pump. So if you're out there with a steel bike or even an aluminum bike, titanium bike, any bike with fairly close round tubes, you really should have a frame pump. CO2s just get expensive. I mean, they're $3, $4 each. If you get the non-threaded ones, you can probably get them at a hobby store. So the non-threaded ones, I don't know, maybe a box of 20 for 20 bucks. I don't know. I've never purchased that because I buy through my distributors. But yes, I mean, you could get CO2s that are non-threaded, and you have a different type of chuck that will puncture that. And but that whole system is a much bigger system. The type that are threaded CO2s and a threaded chuck inflator can be, I mean, literally that big, right? Just a little inflator and the CO2 and you're done. So trade-offs, always trade-offs. Okay, thank you so much for your time and your attention. Please like and subscribe. I cannot believe it's taken weeks to get like 20 subs to get somewhere near 3,000 subs. We're still not there. We're at 2984. So please, if you've been watching the content, you're getting value out of it, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it means the world to me. Okay, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you up the road.